played, how far it will go. And that's how our griots used to send messages from village to village. You can call it SMS these days, email, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want. We had it then, and it was these drums. Each type of these drums you see here had a different purpose. Some of them for happy messages, for gathering. Some of them to say run for your life. So no wonder why some of you jumped when I played this one, the sabra. Is it loud enough? So, that coded language that only the griots knew, when heard and translated to one village, it gets passed on to another one, to another, until it goes round. But when drums are played for happy occasions, weddings, naming ceremonies, shopping trips for ladies. Because it sounds nice, of course, people will start dancing. And that's how drums bring people together. Then they became musical instruments. But those griots, which I'm dressed as one today, were also the historians. When soldiers go to war, they are followed by a griot with an instrument, singing their bravery and reminding them why they are going to risk their lives. But also those griots are the ones that report whatever happened there. And that gets passed on to your children, your children's children, for generation and generations. So you can imagine for the guy who ran away in war, his grandchildren. In that way, the griots will also teach the children. Every day when the carpenter goes into the forest cutting trees, the blacksmith going to his workshop, the farmer going to his land, the griot go around collecting the children and young men who needs education, gather them around the palaver tree. The palaver tree is the equivalent of the village hall these days. That's where all the meetings happen, the big decisions where they get taken. Or you can call it House of Commons. Boo. Yeah, I know. So, the griots will be telling the history and telling stories, moral stories to children that will teach them who they are, where they belong to, how much their parents, their grandparents, their ancestors have worked hard to get them where they are. And in that way, the children have a good reference and know the path to follow. That's the role of the griot. But also, I'm sure a lot of you guys think that all people do in Africa is drum and dance, because that's what they seem to show on TV. Yes, we do a lot of that. There's no denying it. but only because it's part of our day-to-day life. If you see a traditional farm anywhere in Africa, you might see men and women working hard under the sunshine. You wonder how they do it. If you look under a tree, you might see a guy with a drum or a flute or any instrument, singing and playing to them, entertaining them, encouraging them, making them forget how hard what they've got to do is. While they sing and dance to the rhythm, before they know it, job done. Ta-da! And that's why we sing and dance a lot. That's part of our day-to-day life. And that is given by the griots. I'm not one. Well, I am one, but a modern one. We are called artists. And in our community, our African society, a musician, an artist, has to somehow get the permission of a griot before you can be a real artist. Because they pass it on, they got the secret of the instruments. Just a little bit about the griot and why we drum and dance all the time. We also drum for funerals, so it's not because we always happy. I'm going to do a little bit more of the griots to tell you a bit of a dark story actually about a village called Nder from the north of Senegal, where I'm from, in the border with Mauritania, the Sahara Desert. There was a peaceful and quiet village until the day that the Moors, is the people from what we call now Mauritania, they used to come into Black Africa, catch slaves. That was well before slave catchers came from the Occident. And these slave catchers used to come in at the time that old men were at the fields. Well, that's what we were led to believe. Maybe they just ran away, left it. But anyway, that day that the slave catchers turned up, there were only women and children, probably one griot. But these women decided they were never going to be turned into slaves because they're noble people. So they decided to go lock themselves in a kitchen and set it on fire rather than turning into slaves. And so they did. And up to that day, anyone from that area has felt prouder than any other people because they could guarantee that they were never slaves. Because when the men arrived, what they found was ashes. That's one little sad story, but a very good example of honor set by ladies, of course. I know men would have been more sensible and just left it or become slaves. That's there.